Hi and welcome to this Blender tutorial. Today I'll show you how to make a stylized low poly book with a decorative glass orb. Let's open up a new file. Delete the default cube, camera and light by pressing A and then X and delete. Press Shift and A, select mesh and add a plane. Press Tab to go into edit mode, then S to scale and X to scale on the X-axis. Press E to extrude and Z to lock it on the Z-axis. Then press 2 on your keyboard or this button up here to go to edge select. Control B to bevel, then drag your mouse back to adjust the size of the bevel, and use your mouse wheel to add more segments. Hold down the Shift key and make sure this face is also selected. Shift and D to duplicate, then right-click to release in place. Press P to separate by selection, and let's rename the two planes. Select the pages, then tab back into edit mode. Select the top face, then hold down Alt and click on the next face to select the whole loop. Shift and click on the front face to deselect it. Let's duplicate this as well and separate it into its own object. Select the cover, then tab back into edit mode. Press 2 on your keyboard for edge select, then hold down Alt and select the bottom loop. And press Shift and Alt to select the top loop as well. Then press S and Y to scale along the Y-axis. Let's select the front edges, then press G and X to move them along the X-axis. Then press A to select all and Alt and E to extrude faces along normals. Tab out of edit mode and select the back of the book. Tab back into edit mode, press A to select all and then S and Shift and Y to scale down along the X and Z axis. Then press S and Y to scale the back so that it's slightly longer than the book cover. Then press Alt and E and extrude faces along normals. Press A to select all, then Shift and D to duplicate and P to separate by selection. Let's rename this too. Select a new mesh, then tab into edit mode. Let's scale this along the Y-axis. Then press S and Shift and Y to scale along the X and Z axis. Move this by pressing G and Y, then tab back into object mode. Right-click and shade smooth. We'll add a bevel modifier, decrease the amount and increase the number of segments. Then add a subdivision surface modifier and increase the viewport levels by 2. Let's also add a mirror modifier. Use the eyedropper tool to select the back of the book and then select Y instead of X. We'll duplicate this first detail, right-click to drop in place, then press G and Y to move it along the Y-axis. Next, we'll add some bevel and subdivision surface modifiers to the back of the book. And then we'll add the same modifiers to the book cover and pages. Since we want to deform the book, we need to give it some more geometry. Select the back, then tab into edit mode and press Ctrl and R to add loop cuts, and roll your mouse wheel to add more cuts. Then select the book cover, tab into edit mode, press Ctrl and R to add loop cuts to the front and back side of the cover. We'll add some more details to the front, so press 7 on your numpad to go to top view, then press 3 on your keyboard to go to face select. Then select these faces, press I to insert and then I to insert again. Then press G and Z and use your arrow keys to move the middle part down. We now have a frame around the front page. To create some corner protectors, we'll use a plane. Press Shift and A and then add a plane. Move it up by pressing G and Z. And tab into edit mode, press S and scale it down. Tab out of edit mode and move the plane over to the bottom corner. Tab back into edit mode, press 1 to go to vertex select this corner and move it back a bit by pressing G, Shift and Z to only move it along this X and Y axis. Then press A to select all, E and Z to extrude along the Z axis, then extrude the plane to cover the corner. Tab back into object mode, right-click and shade smooth. And we'll add a bevel and subdivision surface modifier to this as well. Once you're happy with the look and placement, let's add a mirror modifier. Use the eyedropper tool to select the book cover, then deselect X and select Y. We'll duplicate the corner and move it down to the bottom. We'll use a UV sphere to add a glass orb. Tab into edit mode and press O or up here to turn on proportional editing. Select the top vertex and move it up by pressing G and Z, using your mouse wheel to control the circle of influence. Then create an egg-like shape. Press A to select all, then S and scale it down. Tab out of edit mode and press R and X and -90 to rotate the orb along the X-axis. Shade the smooth, tap back into edit mode, press 2 on your keyboard, then select the middle edge by holding down Alt and click on it, and then hold down Alt and Shift and click on the rest of the edge. Press Shift and D to duplicate, P to separate selection, and let's rename them Orb and Frame. Select the orb, tab into edit mode, then scale it along the Z-axis by pressing S and Z. Tab back into object mode, then select the orb and frame and move them both down and then to the middle of the book. Select a frame, go to object, then convert it to curve. Under the geometry tab, choose profile and then cornice molding. Increase the resolution and depth until you get a result you like. Then right-click and shade smooth and add a subdivision surface modifier with 2 levels. Now let's select all the parts of the book, but make sure to select the cover last. Then press Ctrl and P to parent all objects to the cover. This way, the other parts will follow when you move the cover around. We'll add a lattice to deform the book. Scale it up along the X and Y axis and then scale it down a bit on the Z axis. I'll also move the lattice up a little bit. Just like with the mesh, we need to give the lattice some more geometry to work with, so increase the resolution for U, V, and W. We then tab into edit mode and move some of the vertices around, but nothing happens to the book. That's because we need to add a lattice modifier to all the parts of the book. Let's start with the cover and go to modifiers and then deform. Use the eyedrop tool to select the lattice. And now we can deform the cover by moving the lattice. We'll copy the lattice modifiers to the other parts of the book. Select the cover first and then Shift and select the other parts. Use the drop-down menu and copy the selected. And now we can deform the whole book by manipulating the lattice. You can use G to move, S to scale, and R to rotate. And you can use proportional editing and use your mouse wheel to increase or decrease the circle of influence. Play around with the settings to give your book some character and personality. And you can go to the wireframe mode to better see all of the vertices of the lattice. If you want to see how I made the energy material for the glass orb, you can watch the video here. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more Blender tutorials. I'll see you next time. Bye!